Hi, everyone. My name is Candice Thomas. I'm a psychic medium and intuitive advisor, and I was guided by spirit to just share and showcase, feature other badass, kick-ass psychic mediums who are doing great in our community that help and support other mediums do their best work, or who have a unique voice, a unique genius that they can offer to all of us to help build our spiritual toolbox. So I'm very pleased to announce, after many technical difficulties, that I have Lorna Jane Hines with me today, who's going to talk to us about how to expand our spiritual toolbox with learning some information about mental health. So hi, Lorna.
Hello, Candice. Thank you for having me.
So glad after so many times. So glad to have you here as well.
No worries. No worries.
Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about you, Lorna, if that's okay, and then we'll just get right into today's topic. So for those of you who don't know Lorna, she's an internationally known medium. She works in groups and does demonstrations, private one-on-one, but she also comes with over 40 years of experience in the behavioral health industry. So she has her receipts for today's topic. So in the behavioral health industry, Lorna's worked in everything from psychotherapy. She's been an administrator. She's done research. She's taught people. And then she discovers she has this mediumship gift and does that as well. So I don't know if you also do windows, but you do a lot of stuff to be of service to people. I also wanted to point out one of the things that is so awesome about Lorna, and she's a fantastic medium if you don't know her, is that she started and helps run a charity, an actual orphanage rather, in northern Ghana for disabled children. So part of what the orphanage does is they provide education for these children and also just basic support and care and love. And so definitely you're going to want to connect with Lorna if you have more information about how to support that orphanage. And I also talked with her about, we might have her back on so she can just share with us how we can make a bigger impact in the world and really get involved in a greater way, because I am getting those questions as well. So thank you, Lorna, for being here. I'm so glad to have you here. And I just wanted to hear about, I know as I read from your bio, one of the things that stood out is that you started in behavioral health field. So how did you become a medium? What was that process like?
Well, Candice, I've always been intuitive, even as a youngster. And I grew up in a household that was spiritually focused, religious, but also very spiritually focused. And I grew up in an atmosphere where spirituality was practiced and talked about, and in a very expanded sense. So I've always utilized my intuitive abilities in my psychotherapy work, especially in situation where there was a crisis and all you had to do was to utilize your intuitive feelings, because there wasn't information that really could help you. But I would say somewhere in around 2008 of my life, I started feeling like I needed something more. Of course, I had a thriving psychotherapy practice and worked as an administrator and senior cabinet level positions, as you outlined. But I really began to feel like I needed something more. I also felt, surprisingly, and apparently this is something that happens with many healers, I started to feel a need to heal people with my hands, just all of a sudden. And so I began on a sojourn to find resources that would help me to develop what I felt was the need for something more to be expressed and to be shared. And so I went to lots of different resources. I joined a group of women led by a shaman and medium. And it really ended up being kind of a support group. But these intuitive gifts that I'm talking about, there was a forum where I could express them. And then I studied numerology for a while. And then lo and behold, I was led to Omega Institute in July of 2010. And this is an absolute true story. I was late to a weekend workshop that James Van Praagh was leading. And so I kind of quietly tried to sneak in because I was embarrassed about being late, not knowing that there were other people that were late as well. But anyway, I came in, sat at the back, and he jumped off the stage. James, he's full of energy and full of spark and fire. And he came straight to me and he looked me in the eye and he said, "You are going to be transformed this weekend.
I
There is
love it.
something special about you." And when I asked him what he saw, he said he saw all of this purple uh, color in my auric field and just the sense he had. And indeed, it was transforming that weekend. The next day, he led us through a meditation and asked us to use our hands to feel the energy of our partner because we were divided up in groups. And when I got to the heart chakra area of my partner, she began to cry, and also I began to cry. And at that point, I understood why she had recently lost her husband. And then later on, the same day, I partnered with her and was led in a meditation and kind of uh, uh, sitting in the power. And her husband came through
Wow.
and gave her some beautiful messages about still loving her, wanting her grief to cease, and reminding her that she will love again. That was the major message. And then just because sometimes you think that these are flukes, but then the next day James again came to me, made me go up on the stage in front of these hundreds of people. And I was so scared. I just took my time, got up there, and then brought through this woman's aunt who had been in a nursing home. And I tell you, I was so frightened and upset. I started crying on the stage in front of everybody.
Trial by fire. It's like,
Exactly.
yeah, right.
Exactly.
But
And so
how,
after that, it was just one wonderful teacher after that, one wonderful experience after that, and having the opportunity to serve spirit in the way that we both do.
so how do you, as a psychotherapist, like how did you not incorporate, but how did you reconcile that the fact that you're this medium? Was there ever a conflict with how you thought about mediumship based on the work that you did?
Well, I think there were external conflicts because I did mention to you that the social work professional board is very clear about the practice of social work. I am a licensee in New York and New Jersey, so I'm very careful to separate the two forms of practice.
Right.
But I think in terms of my mediumship, uh, there isn't a conflict because I am who I am. So, do I practice psychotherapy when I'm doing mediumship? I would say no, but I think there are elements that are intrinsic to helping people that are just a part, a total part of who I am as a professional. So things like professional boundaries and ethics and being focused on the willingness and the focus on helping. Those are things that are intrinsic to who I am. So
Right.
there's no need for separation.
Okay. So when I met you, one of the things that drew me to you was you were so passionate about mental health and our role as mediums and working with people who have mental health issues or even ourselves. And I just wanted you to just share, why do you feel mental health is important to mediumship? Why is this such a passionate topic for you?
Well, thank you for the question because I remember the day that I met you. And I remember that at that workshop that we were in, there was a woman that had a client who had experienced a recent death of a loved one. And this woman talked about how this gentleman was calling her every day, and that she had some fearfulness or some misgivings about his mental health, and that perhaps he was suicidal. And I remember putting my hand up and began to talk about the need for us as professionals to expand our skills so that we are readily available to handle situations like that, including someone calling you every day. Someone calling you every day is an indication that they need something above and beyond the resources and the spiritual gifts that you're offering.
Sure.
That's the message there.
Sure.
So I did respond to her question and talked about it in terms of, as you mentioned, the need for us to have a toolbox,
Right.
the need for us to have a repertoire of skill sets that we can pull from at any given time to meet the needs of our clientele. And that certainly includes mental health. And again, I'm not asking for mediums and intuitives and healers to all become mental health clinicians, no more than I would say we ought to be medically inclined clinicians. But we do need to have some very rudimentary skills in mental health and in various other uh, needs that may arise, so that we can offer our support, offer resources at perhaps critical times that people need, that perhaps they would listen more to us than they would other people, and that they would hopefully follow up and get the help that they need.
Thank you for saying that. I'm so glad you said you're not expecting us to be clinicians, because when I first started out, I was told that I was never allowed to diagnose someone's symptoms. So I was not allowed to say, oh, it looks like you're depressed, or you're dealing with this issue. So how do we as mediums even talk about or approach this subject with our clients? And maybe the first question is just what to even look out for, and then what do we say if we see something that might be indicative of a mental health issue?
Okay. Well, I'd like to answer your question, and I'm gonna flip it a little bit,
Yeah.
just to give some logic to why I am saying what I am saying and offering. I had a reading from someone some years ago who had a concern about the level of sugar intake that I was having, and that perhaps it may lead to a problem. And that particular medium that spoke to me talked about it in terms of her tasting sugar, in terms of my energy. And I thought that was very interesting. And she did indeed say to, seek some medical help and be careful of my sugar intake. Now, I went in preparation for our discussion, I went and looked at the extent to which diabetes is a problem here in the United States. I can't speak internationally, but in the United States, it seems as though 8.3% of the population uh, have diabetes. 8.3%. So, in that respect, if you want to say that perhaps I had a problem towards being diabetic, the person that worked with me had very no difficulty in talking to me about diabetes. But then, as you can imagine, I wanted to see the extent to which mental health issues are a problem here in the United States. And lo and behold, 43.8 million adults experience mental illness in any given year.
Wow.
So we're talking about at least 4 or 5 times as much more people experience a mental illness than diabetes, yet it was easier relatively easy for this mental of this spiritual person to be able to talk to me about it.
Right.
So what I would say in answer to your question is, if you and I were going to have lunch together and you noticed on my arm that there was a oozing blister, red wound on my arm, you would look at it and you would say, gee, Lorna, what happened? Did you burn yourself
Right.
cooking? What, did you fall or whatever? And I'm certain, given our relationship, you would say, look, I think once we finish lunch, we ought to go to urgent care or emergency because that doesn't look good to me.
Right.
Now, in that instance, you're not making a clinical decision. You're not making a clinical diagnosis. You're just offering kind of a first aid response to something that you see that you think needs medical attention. And I think that that's the same thing that we ought to employ as professional spiritual mediums, intuitives, healers, and so on.
Right.
And to seize the opportunity, if we're able to help people that come to us that may need an evaluation. We're not saying you have a problem. We're just saying it needs to be looked at. It needs to be evaluated by the professional people that can give a clear understanding of what the problem is. Now, you asked me, what are some of the things that mediums such as yourself that don't necessarily have a background in mental health, what are some of the things that they need to be aware of? The first thing is, if you notice or if the person expresses that they are having a real difficulty concentrating or sitting still. Second, if they express that they are feeling very sad or they have been withdrawn from people, places, and things in their lives for more than 2 weeks. If they indicate, or either that you see, or if they indicate themselves that they have a situation where there are severe mood swings, where they may go from happiness to extreme sadness, that has caused difficulties in their relationships and within themselves. If they indicate that they have some very intense worries that seem like they're very preoccupied with these particular things. If they have a situation in which either you observe or they indicate they have a sudden overwhelming fear for no reason, that it doesn't seem based in any type of reality. If they indicate, or again, if you observe that they are seriously considering harming themselves or harming other people, or that they have plans, you know, I want to emphasize this because we don't necessarily know what's going on in people's houses. And I tell you, as I have experienced lately, the number of deaths due to gunshots, I am impressed with the number of people that have guns in their home and things, any type of implements that they can do to hurt themselves. We also want to be aware of situations where a person may express, or you observe, that they're not eating, or they are throwing up or using laxatives to lose weight, or that they've had a significant weight loss or weight gain. They also want to be aware of situations in which there is some sort of expression of very risky, out of control behavior, which can possibly cause harm to themselves or others. As I think about this, If they are wearing or indicate that they are wearing all this expensive jewelry and they are purposely going into an area where there is a known possible threat to be harmed or be things can be stolen from you, you want to you want to get an understanding of that. If you notice or there's an indication of repeated use of drugs or alcohol, um, definitely. And last, if there are any drastic changes that are indicative of them in terms of their personality or sleeping habits, oftentimes sleep, too much or too little are often indications of difficulties in mental health problems.
Okay.
And these are just just as I said, some first aid type of uh, indications that there might be something going on with that person.
Okay. So some of the things that you mentioned, I know, like lack of sleep or feeling some of the extreme emotions. Definitely, I know that there are mental health implications there. But also, it's like people might, and I think this is where you get so passionate about. I've heard other people say, "Well, what if it's an energy thing?" So how do you? What do you do as a medium? Like, what's your take on that? Like, is it like a Kundalini rising thing, or is it a mental health thing? Like, what is our role with if we in that regard?
Well, I think that is something that good judgment should prevail. I am not an expert on demonic possession or
Right, right,
any of these types of things that people may express or indicate. Um, I I do feel that oftentimes we need to affect the balance with some of these things, and certainly if we talk to our clients and they say yes, it is a energy thing, or I have a decreased need for sleep, or whatever the case may be, we can offer information. We can say, gee, well, maybe you do have a decreased need for sleep. However, my understanding is adults require some degree of rest. And you're indicating you've been up for example, 3 days. And so you can always start with a good medical exam, because oftentimes some of these things that I'm talking about have a medical background or a medical etiology. And so it doesn't hurt to say, gee, when was the last time you had a full physical? And
right,
what was the result of it? Well, maybe you ought to just check in with your medical doctor to make sure that there isn't any type of metabolic changes going on with you that you need to know about for your health and your wellness.
right. Yeah, that's brilliant. I liked how you answered that because I started laughing because I thought you were going to say if someone indicates that they have demons, but I'm sure that like I know mediums where they do get clients
Yes,
who are adamant
yes,
about,
yes,
and I don't know, maybe there is something that is plaguing or hurting
yes,
someone, but I like how you're saying we'll just start with, hey, maybe a medical exam, and again, that's not diagnosing anything or just, hey, you might just want to get this looked at and come at it from a balanced approach. That's awesome. So
exactly.
if we
And
recognize, oh, go ahead.
And with all of these things, I think as professional mediums, and what I'm talking about is this is no longer about a 45 or an hour reading and just, that's it. I really think we need to see ourselves as professionals, as bringing a certain expertise, a certain repertoire of skills to working with our clientele. So it also behooves us that we develop a resource list where we have all of the information in front of us to help the person that is sitting in front of us. So if this means contacting your mental health association or being aware of the emergency room and what emergency services there are, shall we say, spiritualist friendly clinicians that are around. You'd be surprised, and that there may be an opportunity for you to connect or have a liaison relationship with that person and be available to help people that are in need.
That's pretty amazing. And you teach this, right? You teach mediums, psychics, intuitives, all of the above. You teach us how to do this. So,
Yeah,
what could you talk a little bit about how your classes operate and when your next one will be?
yeah. The next one will probably be in the fall. And it's a series of 5 sessions online where we focus on general issues and then specifically different, shall we say, mental health syndromes or mental health symptoms so that people are aware of what it is that they're seeing, how they understand the difference between, for example, anxiety versus depression, how to understand psychosis and a thought disorder. All of these types of things are covered in the sessions. And probably this fall, depending on the level of interest, I will do another 5 sessions.
Okay. And will you help people learn how to build their resource list or where to go? And
In the course, we deal with it generally. But if
okay.
people want to have more of a specific resource list, that's something we could do one on one
Okay.
with the individual.
Okay. So if people want to get a hold of you or want to know more information about the workshop, what is your email and website information?
Okay, the website is www.lorna LORNA initial J Hines HINES.com. www.lornajhines.com. And then the email, although there's a way to communicate with me on the website, but the email is lornajhines@gmail.com.
All right, perfect. So thank you much for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us today. This is awesome. And I had posted that if people had stuck around this long with us, that you would take us through a healing exercise or meditation. So I will turn it over to you to close us out with your beautiful healing.
Thank you. And thank you, Candice. And thank you all. So, what I'd like to do is for us to energetically imagine that the connection that we have with one another is is present, and to begin, because the breath is the source of all life, that we begin with some breathing, some deep breathing. And all you have to do is remember the number 5. Okay, so when I tell you, you will breathe in slowly to the count of 5. You will hold your breath to the count of 5, and you will exhale to the count of 5. And you may close your eyes as we're doing this exercise. And also, on the 5th inhale and exhale, I'd like you to inhale your sense of love and exhale your sense of peace. But I will walk you through all of the breathing. So join me in breathing, taking an in breath of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and holding the breath 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once again, inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and holding it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wonderful. And then just slowly move your shoulders backwards and forwards as I'm doing, and up and down and up and down, and then breathing in again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once again, inhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wonderful. And this is our last one. Breathing in your sense of love. Breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your sense of peace. And one more time, inhaling. Hold it. And breathe out. Wonderful. You did a great job. And now I'd like you to join me in a visualization exercise. And as I mentioned before, we are all connected. And so we are going to connect with one another and with me as we visualize and benefit from this exercise. So again, close your eyes very gently. And I want you to imagine that you get up very slowly and you walk out the door of wherever you are and you find yourself in the most beautiful garden filled with enormous trees in full bloom, with the greenest grass that you've seen in your life. And all around, in front of the trees, are flowers of all descriptions and all colors. And as you look up from this view, you notice that the sun is shining brightly, so bright, and the sky is the bluest of blue, sprinkled with just a few clouds that make the blue sky even more blue. And you are feeling the best that you have felt in a long time. You feel at one with this beautiful nature view. You feel at one with the beautiful air and sunshine and the just right temperature that is in your midst. And you instinctively know that you are one with the world and that you are blessed as a child of spirit. And so you know instinctively that you need to walk down a path that has been created for you. And as you take maybe 4 or 5 steps, you notice that there's a crowd of people that are part of this beautiful picture that maybe you haven't met, but you know that these people, men, women, they're all here to support one another, to care about one another, and to ensure that there is brotherhood and sisterhood and peoplehood between us. And so you're not fearful. You go to them and you give them hugs, you greet them, and you begin conversation. And when you look to your far right, you notice that there are several air balloons. The balloon part is multicolor with the most brilliant red, orange, greens, yellows, all different, beautiful, vibrant colors that are part of the balloon part. And in the air balloon, there are men and women in the different ones that are obviously the guides. And the one that you pick to enter, there is a male gentleman, a very handsome gentleman wearing a white and gold robe. And he greets you with a hug and with love and with light and stretches out his hand for you to join him up the steps into the air balloon. And as you do this, you notice the others that were part of the group are also entering their air balloons. And your guide says to you and the others that have joined your air balloon that we are going on a spiritual journey designed to enhance your body, mind, and spirit. And that there is no reason for fear. There is no reason for anxiety. That this is a divine ordered situation for you, focused again on enhancing your body, mind, and spirit. And once all of the group members have entered into their air balloons, we begin to feel that we are making our way up into this beautiful sunlit blue sky. And very slowly, almost like we are being carried up into the clouds and into the blue sky by a wonderful, loving spiritual force, we ascend. And as we float in the beautiful sky and into the beautiful earth that has been created, yes, for us, we notice the color of our air balloon has begun to change to the brightest, most beautiful color red that we can imagine. It's almost as if this color has a life force. And as we look at it, we feel that the beauty of this red color is infusing in us. And so we enjoy it. And as we move a little bit further, again ascending and moving ever slowly, we notice the red color has begun to change to a beautiful orange. This is the most brilliant, beautiful orange that we can imagine. And it reminds us of the sweet, full of juice oranges that we ate as children, with the juice splashing all over our face, and how we enjoyed that orange. And again, we feel infused by this beautiful color as well as the memory that we had of eating oranges. And as we move in our air balloon slowly to the left, we notice the color of the air balloon has changed again. And it is now a bright yellow. And again, this yellow is so bright and so beautiful. It reminds us of the beauty of the sun that is warming ourselves and the earth. And it is just full of beautiful spiritual energy. And again, it is infused in us. And as it is infused, we are feeling even greater and more positive, and certainly much, much better than we can feel before the voyage began. And then the air balloon begins to move more slowly to the right. We notice that there is again a change in the color, and the color has turned to a magnificent green that looks like the green grass that we have just left. Just a brilliant, healthy looking green that reminds us of some of the beauty of the green of trees, the beauty of the green of grass, the beauty of the green that good health. All of these things we are reminded of as we look at this beautiful green. And as we look at it and marvel at it, we are infused with the color green. And again, we notice that our guide is taking us just a bit higher. And as he does this, we notice that the beautiful green has turned now to a beautiful blue, very much like the blue that we notice in the blue sky, but even more deeper and more vibrant than the blue sky. And as we look at it, we feel just enormously at peace. We feel enormously good and have the strong sense that this blue color is also infusing within us, in our mind, body, and spirit. And we are feeling the best that we can possibly feel. And again, our guide takes us ever so slowly to the left. And as he moves us towards the left, we notice that the air balloon has changed the color once again to the most beautiful color of indigo. Oh, and we are reminded looking at this color that as we look at it, we are infused in body, mind, and spirit with this color. And that as we are infused with this color, that we are brought to higher vibrations and higher levels of being. And as we begin to move just a little bit higher in our air balloon, we notice that the color of indigo has now changed to a beautiful violet color. A beautiful violet color that again infuses us with the spirituality of this wonderful color. And we feel it this time in our body, mind, and spirit. And as we allow it to infuse the color's properties within us, we are feeling more spiritually grounded and focused and supported. And again, feel a sense of oneness with spirit, with healers, with guides, with helpers, with spirit persons that are in our midst that are helping us. And we know intuitively, instinctively, that life is good. And we are children of a magnificent being. And at this point, our wonderful guide says that it's time for us to return and that we will slowly descend from this area in the sky. And we notice that all the colors that the air balloon was during this voyage, pieces of those colors, like a patchwork quilt, are all now part of our air balloon. And we slowly, ever so slowly, descend and find ourselves back into the beautiful garden where we first began this voyage. And as we are affixed to the ground, our guide gives us a wonderful warm embrace, gives us a blessing, gives our family and our community a blessing, and says to us that when there is a need for us to return to this beautiful place, that we can access it when we need it. And he assures us of that. And we instinctively know that, yes, it is there for when we need it. And so we descend out of our air balloon. We see our fellow travelers that are there. And as we look upon one another, we notice that it seems as though the energy in our auric field and the way we appear to one another is so different that we seem more lighter, we seem more positive, we seem as though our colors are even more brilliant and more positive. And so we instinctively know to embrace one another and promise to be with one another if the need arises. And we slowly walk away back down to our path, our individual paths that were divinely created to us, very slowly walking back down, straight away into our rooms. And only when you're ready, you may open your eyes, you may move your fingers, you may move your toes and your feet. And if needed, take some water because you've been on a journey, a positive journey. And you can return indeed when you need to return. So blessings to you, my friends. And thank you for journeying with me. Namaste.
Namaste. That was awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lorna, for joining me. And I will have all the website information connected with our interview today. And I just look forward to chatting with you soon.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you to your audience.
Have a great day.
You too.